From New Englandville studio, good morning and welcome to the second edition of the program Good Morning Salon for this week, where they come to you from the Society for Radio Democracy 98.1 FM. Today, Tuesday, December 21, 2021. We will bring you the second edition of the program Good Morning Salon. Musa Kamara, not the name.
And Mina Khadija Bangura, good morning. Inside the program this Tuesday morning, Radio Democracy will begin look inside the 2020 audit report wages come out. As people know, Section 1192 of the Salon 1991 Constitution give power to the Auditor General for audit the country in public accounts them and serve public office them in any institution we establish by an act of parliament. Well, over the year them, the Auditor General don't they do this, and after all the audits we can do na different ministry, departments and agency them, then he later table the audit reports na parliament for let member of parliament and go look inside this report through the Public Accounts Committee, for let them talk about the issues them, and later on we can see again outside the Anti-Corruption Commission can use this same report for investigate people them where not be able for account for government corporate where the audit reports can make mention of their name. Well, inside last week, the acting Auditor General been go table the 2020 audit reports in Parliament. From that ended to now, different people don't they talk about this particular audit report, and some pandy billions them where the audit report say be missing. And different people, their names then they inside this report, where according to the auditor them, they say they not be able to account for money them will then be used for government. Well, for can't talk about the issues there this morning, now that make we get the coordinator for the Budget Advocacy Network, as we all know, a civil society organization. We don't they talk about issues them we get for do with transparency and accountability, and safe can talk about the country in national budgets. Abubakar Kamara, the coordinator for Budget Advocacy Network. Good morning, Mr. Kamara, and welcome again to the program Good Morning Salon.
Good morning, 98, and good morning again, my people in a salon.
And we get Andrew Lavali, the executive director for the Institute for Governance Reform, an organization where don't they talk around issues them we get for do with governance and other issues them. Good morning, Mr. Lavali.
Yes, good morning and compliment of the season, Pabula.
All right. When I continue for the program, we'll go start the discussion. We'll start with Mr. Kamara from BAN. As we all know, as I stated earlier, BAN don't they talk around issues them we get for do with transparency and accountability. Mr. Kamara, the very first day where this audit reports been come out and where the public be lay hands of them, we all see the conversation. Different people, they give their opinion about the missing billions where the audit reports say certain government officials them not be able to account for. And we don't they see BAN, don't they talk around issues of accountability, transparency, especially we get for those government institution them. As an institution, don't they talk about their issues there. So we wanna first see this audit report and study them. Waiting first come into mind.
Thank you very much. And firstly, we really disappointed based on the fact that this current administration, one of the things we people voted in for, the aspect for put accountability and transparency at the forefront in terms of governance, and more also in terms of financial management issues. Of course, we recognize some of the efforts already they make for address audit issues then, but we will study physics. We go to call say work done force time distance. So whatever force, whatever policy they put in place, if we not see them changes then they, as you don't evidence now the audit reports, it means say no work done. So it means say more need to be done. So for we really cut back because we think say at this particular point in time, some of the issues then we then the audit report will see, if we don't begin put them at past small. Secondly, again, it's quite clear, auditor then get in terms then where did they use, firstly, why we talk about say qualified report. I feel say now report will really all thing okay, but then go the intern. What they mean that qualified report, like do I get this here? It means say the auditor unable to verify all the income and expenditure then within state, and we also not good for we as a nation. And for we think say it's time for the government to rethink and see what our strategies they put in place for ensure say action be taken. Of course, I read the Finance Act and the budget speech. There are also policies them way government don't propose for do. I hope so they will do on this time around, because when I read the past 6 to 7 years budget speech them, each and every government they always provide solution on how to address the audit report. But yet still we need to see some majority of them they need to do. For example, when this administration come, they count one very strong policy for ensure say, I mean, the leaders of the MDs then really take leadership in terms of addressing audit commission. In the 2019 budget speech, they say they're going to include them as part of the performance contract for vote controllers. Them. And of course, for it quite clear, say they're not really doing, because we see again in this 2022, they bring the same thing again, say that they include them as part of the performance management of the MD. So we hope say they will really push them forward. And we also see this time around them bring in the office of the president as an institution where we go there for coordinate their issues and they. But as it is now, I mean, absolutely no work done in terms of ensuring that real change for address the critical issues around audits. The issues then, I mean, not change. There is no change in the issues there. The same issues then they come year in, year on, and even up to the 2022 audit report. So for we think say now a time now for the government really take a very stringent measures, and I hope say some of the policy we then put in the Finance Act in terms of holding people in salary will not provide information. Because if you listen yesterday to the commissioner, there are a whole lot of issues around documentation. You know, what you allow people also understand is audit not today for tomorrow. That at the year done the 31st of January, the 31st of December.
Kamau, we can't talk about the process and procedures them where the auditor then use before they finally pull their reports them. But let's take you back, even before the audit reports come out. A lot of things then happen where anybody would be to follow that conversation that telling day. People them Sierra Leoneans they were interested in the happenings. Go say it never ever happened. Before the audit reports come out, we see the suspension of the Auditor General and in deputy. And during the 10 day, a lot of Sierra Leoneans make speculation say it gets to do with the missing billions them where they inside the audit reports will not being come out as of the 10 day. Now the audit reports don't come out, and all the speculations then they now exactly what people then be they say now in the inside the audit reports. For a government with campaign under the base of promoting transparency, accountability, closing all the leakages, then put together proper financial policies, then we go make the least Sierra Leonean live a better life. With this kind of report, how you go link to a government will be making them campaign promises then they?
You know, as I start earlier, absolutely on the issues of addressing financial accountability, we're really disappointed. Secondly, I mean, as we already already mentioned, the suspension of the Auditor General report, now a very bad precedent. More so with information around why they suspend them, up to now not be clear to the ordinary citizen. Even though at some point back we engage all the authorities, then we understand some of the issues and we both sides be put forward. But at this particular point in time, where we get all evidence, say the Auditor General and the office, they do extremely good job, highly recognized internationally. We shut down proof say they provide adequate oversight over the country money. So for there, we get the kind of situation. So for we feel say not to the best interest in terms of promoting financial accountability.
Look at the cash loss in the 2020 auditors reports, 153.9 billion loans compared to other years. Them, how you can describe this figure in cash loss?
You know, audit service them back down aware say the audit reports people don't really become very much interested on them. So if you see this year, another may get some improvement and even the arranging the reports. Initially, it'd be difficult for see that disaggregation what they tell you. of this overview for audit will do, how much they for this particular year, how much they for the other particular year. So for 2020 audit report, we include some audit we don't do, we don't do for 2020, 2016, 17, 18. You find out for 2020 financial year in 113 billion. It's still huge, based on the fact that we don't see so much investments don't go towards this particular aspect. We don't see a number of policies that we government put where we feel say they don't really take shape it in terms of addressing the critical issues where the Auditor General find. So, and if you watch the reports, it's the same issues. A lot of issues around not providing supporting documents, not providing adequate supporting documents, issues around tax irregularities, issues around cash management. So these are the same issues where still they happened.
No.
And all the issues also we get key players then we're supposed to take actions. So probably later we'll discuss on why action not did happen in terms of ensuring that vote controllers or public officials then they really hold tight and provide the necessary information we required as per the Public Financial Management Act.
Blocking the leakages has been the hallmark of President Bio's campaign before he came to power, and also when he come, we see reforms them like the single treasury accounts, all now for block the leakages them. But with them kind figures there also, and you self don't mention, see, much is not achieved in the area of prudent financial management as far as the Auditor General report is concerned. What's the missing link there?
I mean, the audit now a process, and various stakeholders then get them various roles and what they play for ensure say they address the issues around the audit recommendation. And one particular aspect go for deal with the role of Parliament. Audit reports, Auditor General then will stop and lend the reports in Parliament. Parliament and other institutions and then get the rule for looking at the reports and take appropriate actions so that they will become people, the one who is responsible will become accountable on how they use the people, their resources. So Parliament now one area where really we also get issue where we really need for address. Again, even the executive itself, we get the internal auditor, and they don't employ the good thing, they don't employ internal auditors there, almost all of the MDs there. But now look at how effective or the mandate of the internal auditors then. If you look back 2015, there was a very good draft internal audit bill where them don't prepare. Where they really try for strengthening the internal audit within the various MDs them. But what happened with that bill along the line, it just died down. Okay. And if you look at the internal auditors there, in fact, Minister of Finance, quite recently, they pull a research, they do a study on internal audits, and it's quite clear, say, the need for strengthening the mandate.
Okay. Right. Continue for the week inside the program. Abubakar Kamaina, the coordinator for Budget Advocacy Network Band. The program na Good Morning Salon.
All right, continue for the week the program in case you just tune in. Today we begin for look inside the 2020 Auditor General report, and we take some panel issues them where the report talk about. We get two civil society organizations there with winner the studio get ban and IGR. We can out to Andrew Labali, winner the executive director for the Institute for Governance Reform. Andrew, I go ask the same question. What's that for ask Bakal? And as CSO them, people don't see how much on have been vocal talking about issues we get for those governance, and you can also link them to issues of transparency and accountability. This particular audit report for 2020, now one way the auditor then say a lot of billions missing, and government officials they're not able to give proper documents. They tend to them they do their audits and all. As a civil society activist, then they talk about so many issues we get for with governance and accountability. From the IGR perspective, I want to take the audit report for 2020.
Thank you very much, and again, good morning, listeners. So I just want to join the queue of Bakar. This year, the audit service cast the widest net and make the widest catch, the biggest catch, if you like. To me, all of this, they show how Salon, they grow in accountability. Let me just shift a little bit from the audit. I will come into it in a bit. over the last 1 week, you know, I attend three wedding ceremonies. In all of them wedding, and some of the complaints, they don't thief between them. Yahoo, and we said, then they complain. And we don't they see like over time, like when people in they get funeral, where salon people in that time they can cry and mourn with you. Some people in they focus on pilfering for thief between them. Waiting the Auditor General show over the council now, it typify a Sierra Leonean problem. In fact, when you watch the report, all sectors get problem. Billions and billions missing. It actually typify a Sierra Leonean. Then people in the world talk about when in another wedding. Then people in the world talk about when you love one don't die and talk say can't manage their resources. Now then can be officials, not public officials. Now for that, if I now look at Transparency International definition of corruption, then say na abuse of trusted office for public for private gains. That are the money where they don't give you say for the public, they use them for yourself. And then the Auditor General they normally pursue. So in all the time like we can they argue in with governance paper say Transparency International on a definition too limited. Because a lot of people they don't even trust their maid. Is that not corruption? But we begin to see now say they might be right. For say, maybe if we focus our attention on the one day within a public office, and the public officials they actually institute integrity in their systems, all other sectors will be corrected. Because people can normally follow their leaders. So make believe say, with all of this, the thing way more important now how they hold two institutions to account. The Parliament and the Anti-Corruption Commission. In fact, there is a lamentation. The Auditor General really watch in report, they always don't say. With all my reports that I make, the recommendations that I make, now only 20% are recommended, now don't implemented. Bakar just the recount point after point for success. We they put them policies there, nothing happens. I think say this report here now one way every Sierra Leonean should be angry about. And what we need for do, now how they call on the ACC, see all of them, I was glad yesterday, when they raised their issues and they say over 1,000 and X issues, X number of issues, see now they don't raise. So in the next coming days and months, in the next coming weeks, we want to see, because then thing will happen, Salon don't be now a place where people and they personalize corruption. Are glad with this corruption, but I'm not glad with that corruption. Waiting the audit reports show, it actually they go down to your local council. You doing a Bo district council. Resources were meant for Bo hospital. Wait for menu, you know they get them. You go to McKinney City Council. Resources were meant for you picking in education, you picking in school, you in health, you know they get them. So I think say this report here, if there is anything where Lara Taylor Pierce do, in addition to many good works we don't do. I think so that this not the report this way, it fine for whole let bring Sierra Leoneans together for those and whole.
So Andrew, as you say, this report supposed to make every Sierra Leonean angry, as people only see that based on how the different pieces, the way people are interested, they come out, they write on the social media. They talk about the dissatisfaction as to what happened in the audit reports where the Auditor General been published. For a government where they make so much promises to the citizens them, where even promise citizens a new direction, criticize the previous administration of mismanagement and how they not be able to come out for let the public hold into account of their stewardship. Now, these audit reports, according to people who don't follow various audit reports, the missing billions where the Auditor General say a huge past all the previous reports them. What does this really mean? How the citizen go trust a particular government with all the promises they would make about public accounting to the public and transparency?
Thank you very much. So I think say this report to me, it provides an opportunity to government. Because waiting, like for example, when they say MCC, like what would they do the Afrobarometer? And I find for mention a little bit about the IB. You know, say the last year Afrobarometer will do, a lot of citizens, 74% of citizens, they say, we know one government where they just say we don't do. want government with the account. In fact, we ask the question, you want government where they get things done or government accountable to you? Now, less than 30% of Sierra Leoneans, they talk, say, we want government where they get things done. So governments, for no say, especially in this day and age, for say the demand for accountability don't high. But you know, in the field of corruption, Khadija, not to the amount of money we lost, not your reaction to what happened. So, for example, if at all 500 billion lost in a central bank, then the government and the Sierra Leone police and everybody make sure say Sierra Leone recover that money. Now they show the government they acting. For way MCC they score you, they next score you on the volume of resources missing. They score you on the action we take on it. Now I make they call them control of corruption. So like I say, the reason why they talk say this, it call for let we be angry, and call for let we call Parliament and call the ACC for let them act on the internet day, because now yonder the action for them.
In the past years, then you talk about opportunities. You go provide government opportunity for ensure say them be alert on them tools them for ensure say they're able to curb out corruption. In the past years, then we don't see when the Auditor General's report they come out, we see some arguments them say no, this not to we tell me happen now, what be happen and they don't take, they don't add to we. So the acceptability not a concern to government in some of them report here. So
no, the thing is, not to be fair, the thing is you don't see there is some element of acceptability. We live in a country where no side of the political divide, no one accepts the fight against corruption. In fact, political will for fight corruption now very low in Salon. I think say the few promises we'll get, like where the ACC anti-corruption boss they say yesterday, you get room. Like for example, I remember when Lara published the audit report, I think it was on Ebola, where there was a tussle between the anti-corruption and Parliament. In fact, anti-corruption they say no go layer. Parliament they talk say no deal with her. So for let you get anti-corruption, they sit on a press conference. It's saying that this and this and this and this now happen and this and this. So it they show some will. I think so we civil society and the media need for do now for all the institutions then the Parliament and the ACC for let them take the actions we require.
All right. Continue for the return of the program, and we will come back to you.
the program na Good Morning Saloon, we come to you from the Society for Radio Democracy 98.1 FM. We will bring you this edition of the program. Musa Kamara Minim.
And Mina Khadija Bangura. We continue the program and we look at issues them where the 2020 audit reports talk about. So they come back to Abubakar Kamara from Budget Advocacy Network. We don't talk about the whole reports. Now we start for look at some of the things them with the Auditor General talk about. So they start with the Office of the President. We suppose, for the example, we campaign transparency and accountability. The audit report make mention of several issues them, also discrepancies then they during the term them way them being go audit the Office of the President. One of the points are them na the President in Tripoli be make na Lebanon. The audit report talk about how the Office of the President been go about for select a company where specialize on distribution of toiletries and pharmaceutical items. They hire them for provide the private jets we been take the president's earning delegation in Lebanon. And also then talk about receipts for accommodation and other things them we get for do with that particular trip day. Where all of them thing then documents then the auditor then say it not been proper.
Thank you very much. And of course, we expect much from the first gentleman in office. And I also want to join Andrew Lavalley in terms of how the government reacts. And to be specific, for example, the example we don't give, how the Office of the President, they address the issues there. So where they look at issue, where they look at how the office of itself, they manage and account for the resources. Firstly, I just want to say, first of all, thank you to the President, where it be returned that bill where they may propose, say, President, for account for the impress way it travel. And if that bill for be go through, all the issues there, so we're not for even seeing the audit report, because absolutely audits have the audit based on law, based on what the law say. If the law be don't say enough for audit that impress day, that is enough for audit. But we want to say thank you to that. But nevertheless, the issues then we then raise is really serious. And more especially we talk about the first gentleman. So for we, it's about how the office itself, they take actions. Because as office of the president, would they expect them to get professionals then, where they handle the president in affairs professionally in terms of following what the Public Financial Management Act says, following what the Procurement Act says, and following what all of the other instruments with the guide how to manage resources. You know, of course, one of the arguments where also the president will go, for example, on the flight, they will talk about the security of the president, and we understand some
and that have been the response according to the Auditor General's report.
Some of them dynamics then they, you know, but for God's sake, how comes Office of the President, based on what the Auditor General report say, not able to account adequately, for example, hotel receipts?
Apart from not accounting for hotel receipts, the audit reports go as far as saying original and 2 receipts of accommodation. We mean say the receipts them where the auditor them begins of them and they not to the right receipts them from the hotels them where then say them been there as of that trip.
Absolutely. Now the same thing we say here, that as an officer of the president, we expect for them be an exemplary in terms of managing the people and resources. And more so where His Excellency the President, one of the campaign we focus on now on transparency and accountability and the fight against corruptions. Of course, audit issues, they absolutely most of the issues where they raise, they get some amount of corruption related issues. And we're happy that ACC don't begin to take some steps, and with the hope say we'll get a very strong and fair process in terms of handling the issues there. So for we think say we expect more from the office of the president, and we expect actions for be taken. Me, if not me, now president didn't say it happen. I mean, the finance team will be held accountable in terms of putting my office in that particular.
But when you look at one of the response them, according to the Auditor General's report, say when they contact State House on the issue of the flights, they say the scope in consultation with the president. So which means say somehow we are.
Of course, I mean the president's security comes first, and I'm not a security expert. I'm not going to go into that much details there. But of course, there is a legitimate concern in terms of if pharmaceutical coming in, provide an aviation service. I'm not getting more details yet about whether Nigeria machine, but from the audit report, it clearly states say pharmaceutical coming in, now provide aviation services for His Excellency the President.
We're talking about loss in different sectors them. We in MDAs them, we get the general loss, we get the councils, and also we get different sectors, them state-owned enterprises losses, then they zoom into the office of the presidency, because now the highest office, as my colleague rightly mentioned, now people expect it for set the example, but we rewards them or statement like double dipping fake receipts related to the office of State House. What in this mean for accountability and transparency?
I think for me, the ACC neither for start the whole investigation for really should say, I mean they are up there in terms of taking actions. Absolutely, for we think say neither for start, because these are very serious allegations within the audit report with regards to the office of the president. So we expect the ACC for startup, because we talk about double dipping and stuff, there are corruption related issues them. So the Anti-Corruption Commission and Parliament will really zoom in, they start the process at that particular point, at that particular level, and go down.
Apart from forging receipts for accommodation, the audit report further go ahead and say them pay excess DSA to traveling officers them for this particular trip, and this same trip again, a lot of people get confused because during that trip they will be see Usai, the wife of the president, so now the first lady. Now a public video where he make he say he and husband go honeymoon. So for a private visit and using the taxpayers' money with this kind amount of billions where the audit report say they use for that particular trip day. Now be value for money, it be anything for do with the states?
You know, when it comes in terms of the office of the president, there is a thin line between private and public. And as a first gentleman, the state gets a response for everything we do. The audit report clearly don't state the recommendation around that, the aspect of refunding the resources. And for these are the things that we go for the follow-up on. But one of the interesting thing is that for now, documenting, will the auditor be do the audit, documenting they need to come out. Sooner or later, we'll for see more document go for the come out. And this leads me to the aspect of how are we really serious in addressing the issues there. So now let me just go through the process quickly. We don't observe over the years a lot of receipts, documents they only did available. After the report don't come out, later they go and become available. So I want to bring listeners to how the audit process they go. As I mentioned earlier, audit not to today for tomorrow. That as the year done 31st December, the 1st January they start the audit. Firstly, the accountant general get 3 months for prepare the report for the previous years. So for example, for 2020, audit report we don't come also, the accountant general will take 3 months. That at the 31st of March 2021, they submit the account to the Auditor General. Now that account they now Auditor General the audit for the general statement of general purpose of account. And auditor, they need to just go there unawares. They write officially to the respective institutions, and they get an entrance meeting where they agree on waiting they need, which information they need, and when they for start. Once they agree on the time, they go audit. And during the process of audit, any issue with them get the revisor up with them. And at the end, they get an exit meeting where they present all the issues them where they find out. And the issues them where management they will clarify and provide more evidence then they put them in the management letter. But the issues then where they become outstanding, now the audit service they put now the management letter, where they send back to the institution. And the institution get almost 2 weeks for respond to their issues and day. If they respond to their issues and day, now the other draft management letter, it need to fall in a part of the final management letter. So with all them process and day, 3 months first for prepare the account, agree the time, do the audit, exist meeting, draft management letter, respond to them, document not come out. And at the end now, we go for begin see more document go for come out in parliament. And I'll be happy the last time we do where the parliament they do the COVID, the deputy speaker will emphasize the aspect of not accepting receipts and when they come after the audit don't complete. And we hope say parliament they will go follow that particular floor. Because if you don't take 4 or 5 months after they no provide receipts, then parliament then go provide receipts. It tell bad, and at then a part of don't exist. And with the opposite this time around, the PSC go really take stringent actions around that particular issue today. So to me, that I make a glady in the Finance Act 2022 where they don't propose. Although the proposal now for the internal auditors there, but who feel say they need for also add them, even though they didn't have the act, but they also need for add them at the Finance Act 2022. Because the act now says any officials will not provide information to the internal auditors, they will only survey in allowance and all that thing them. Right. And anyone will not respond to the query of the internal auditors, they also do harm. That same thing there, it then had the Audit Service Act when it was subcharge, that you were responsible for the appropriation or the misappropriation of certain or the aspect of not accounting, they're supposed to hold the salary. So the executive of itself got a role for play for ensure say key issues around providing information around responding to the queries, around ensuring that they follow the due process of how they for utilize resources, they really need to take action on that particular side.
All right, continue for the week winner the program. Abubakar Kama, will come back to you and Ula Valley. A lot of issues them they inside the 2020 audit report, and when you look at the issues them, it clearly they state the Office of the President forging receipts, presenting them to the auditor them, issues of double dipping, issues of the neighbor account for several billions of loans within the take, and all the issues there. So now issues them way don't begin come up, allegations that we don't begin come up even before the Auditor General report come out. And earlier you make mention of their offices, then the way they names them they na the audit report, how serious they really take their issues there. So from where the audit report come out to now, we're not able to hear it from any government official where they come out and speak to their issues there. So they talk about promoting accountability. Wetin IGR they expect as of this point from the time where the audit report come out to now?
Thank you very much. I think, say, beyond just waiting IGR they expect, it's waiting really every Sierra Leonean they expect. To me, the audit report not just a smoke, because audit they just look at papers of expenditures. Sometimes if we'll do a paper on the cost of corruption, Carl rather, do a paper on the cost of corruption. And it actually show beyond just waiting in the track and audit, like for example, transactions where they happen, with something normally audit not the cover, waiting salon they lost. And the reason why I'm in talks say every Sierra Leonean for treat this very seriously, because now you begin in health, now compromise. If you do drive now, Khadija from here to you go and token, you see begin and they in dust, then they bake. So in fact, what's really important, salon don't mean now say, now people will affect no more they affect each other in terms of politics, in terms of instead of actually focusing on the thing that are important. So now just 2% of the one them way then they enjoy like then contract their decision and their life really better off. Where you go Bo, you go McKinney, it's free time, they see the vast gap between the one day where they get then contract and the Sierra Leoneans. But I think say the thing very important, apart from the failure of services, we not to audit experts, and I'm glad the way Bakar taking time for lay the process very well. From the governance point of view, you find less Sierra Leone pay attention to the supply chain, waiting they lead to them failure they are year in year out. And when they talk about control of corruption, now how you stop that supply day. Say this, you talk about being angry at waiting to happen for make sure they stop. But you know, we always see within the office of the president, for example, they talk about like performance contract. One day we know they see performance contracts of MDAs and ministers out. If you watch in 2020, one of the papers where IGR talk with President Bill talk say this is not the year of delivery. Then we ask, but where are the performance indicators? We know say where the top of supply chain now. We know say if government they publish performance contracts, say for example, Ministry of Agriculture, we don't dedicate $80 million this year. And as a result, by the end of this year, now this and this and this one for see, it will minimize corruption. Because so the audit process, they just look at them papers.
Talking about minimizing corruption, Mr. Lavalley, then kind huge corruption allegation they are so levied on the office of the president, and this not a precedent where people don't they commitment them where it don't they make publicly say at the threat corruption. Even in first statement he made in speech to the people of Sierra Leone during an inauguration at stadium, it declared war on corruption. 3 years down the line, the same corruption where it declare war, now audit reports them and other documents then we don't they come out to the media, don't they expose the corruption they happen under in foods.
Exactly. So the thing very important, Khadija, the card is always in that even the MCC, the one way they watch governance and corruption, they look at your response to it. And find really low, enough of fine law just come on at the studio by analyzing within laws. But really fine for law who mean if at all by 2021, we no want for seeding again, what should we do? So, Bakar mentioned just now, like for example, the people that talk about withholding salaries. Corruption resources is 50 times waiting at somebody in salary. So withholding salary is quite insufficient. Why somebody you don't know say this person here, now this he don't do, you say no, just come with the balance and you sit on back. Why you feel say you don't get other Sierra Leoneans we qualify for candidate? Of course, it therefore starts with for them getting the fair hearing, because some of them things so then able explain themselves. But at the end of the day, how is the state going to respond to this? So now that one in this. So the final home in more on the role of Parliament and the role of the ACC. You know why at the top of Parliament? The biggest document where Parliament need, when I research document where you need for an oversight of all MDAs, is the audit report.
So how Parliament go able to look into their issues there when they still get backlog of audit reports?
No, there's
when they're not even able for doing it.
Maybe Parliament
Maybe
can,
what?
No, maybe Parliament can talk anything. They can talk, say, this one I love prioritize them, log 3 months, log take urgent action, and then begin to look into it.
Mr. Lavali, you don't talk about you don't talk about, like, for instance.
Yes, sorry.
With the system, I'm just going to ask. I just going to do a follow-up question.
Yes.
On the angle of Parliament, how much they will prioritize this one.
You know why? You know what radio democracy they do? Now for show citizens disinterest. And one of the ways with Parliament they change, with institutions they change, in the democracy, how people they talk say, no, we don't want this. So that system, the way you talk say, get na salon, that no system, no, they will know they change. It's about how many you too constructive or say, no, this and this now they happen, and you as leaders, now so and so one law changer. So I think say we as civil society, we need to get a monitoring mechanism. And see anti-corruption talk about over 1,000 issues then. The first thing we would do now for track waiting at the ACC then response to the issues. Right. The other thing we would do, in fact, right now we get a project where we look at previous audits, all of the audits. And we not only look at the audits and we try for group their audits and by let me finish. We try for group their audit report, their audit findings and by parliamentary committees. You get 33 committees in Parliament. So the question we ask, you the Committee on Education, what have you done about all of this? And you know why this is important? Because now then committee and then you get APC, you get SLPP. Sometimes and then we see politicians and they just clash over their interest. But then they even clash over within a Sierra Leoneans their interest. Right. So if we're able to track their recommendations and they by committees, and we're able to even produce a league table on the performance of the committee and in terms of the implementation of the audit committee.
Continue for the with me inside the program. Andrew Lavalina, the Executive Director, Institute of Governance Reform, IGR. They inside the studio as we discuss the Auditor General's Report 2020.
We continue with the program. Good morning, Salon, where they come to you from the Society for Radio Democracy, 98.1 FM. Still inside issues them, we get for do with the 2020 audit reports. The Commissioner and the Anti-Corruption Commission, Francis Ben Kaifala, say the people are waiting in charge of government couple, where they name them day na the 2020 audit report. If they not explain to the ACC, but then couple the Commission is say go detain them sote after the Christmas holiday. Francis Ben Kaifala talk this inside one meeting where the Commission being they talk to journalists them, but waiting the makeup of the 2020 audit report. As he said, the Commission don't look inside the team them where they inside the report, and he said then gets over 1,000 issue them. We get for do different ministry departments and agency them, the embassy them, and self local council them. You know, Kabia be part of this meeting, and it go now report.
Every year, audit service salon can pull their audit reports, outside them can audit ministry, departments and agency them on how they spend government couple. And after, when they can on police report, they can present them to Parliament, when at the Public Accounts Committee can look inside the different thing them where the Auditor General in office can do audits. And the committee can later hand over the report to the Anti-Corruption Commission, when an institution will get the responsibility for investigate and charge all alleged corruption cases na the country. As the 2020 audit reports don't come out, outside and say ministry, departments and agency them not able for accounts for plenty couple. This will make the Anti-Corruption Commission call journalists them, outside and go talk to them. But waiting the commission make up of the 2020 audit report. Francis Ben Kaifala, na the commission and na the Anti-Corruption Commission.
2020 audit report. The report itself has 1,020 issues that need our attention. In these 1,020 issues, in the AG's opinion on the public accounts, there are 9 issues that need our attention. For embassies and high commissions, 51 issues. Ministries, departments, and agencies, 281 issues. Public enterprises, commissions, and donor-funded projects, that is the chunk of where the issues are, 635 issues. And we have 44 issues from local councils. So as you can see, these are a wide array of issues that we cannot solve immediately. So as you, the press, are reporting on what we are doing on audit report, I want you to know that because in December 2021, we have not acted on a particular issue in the audit report does not mean the ACC has decided to ignore it. All of them are important to us, but we have 251 staff countrywide, and we can only do as much as we can within our resources and the personnel we have.
Commissioner Kaifala same way so talk about some of the ministry, department and agency them where the commission they investigate now.
The National Revenue Agency, 15.9 billion. We think 15.9 billion is so huge. It's a lot of revenue, but somebody has to explain to us very quickly what is happening. Somebody obviously did not take their role very seriously in the Ministry of Sport, particularly those in charge of finance, procurement, and payments. Those issues will be flagged. They have been flagged for investigation and for systems review. It's as if it was not even audited at all. Sierra Leone Maritime Administration and Shipping Agency, $479,000. Somebody has to explain as quickly as possible. Sierra Leone Admin Shipping Agency, 408 million. That's another one. The African Link Inspection Limited, 13.19 billion. Ministry of Finance, 141 million. All these ones I'm calling are issues for investigation. Again, Ministry of Finance, irregularities in duty waivers that amount to 4.5 billion euros need to be explained.
The president, now one way the commissioner say, in don dey help am pan the fight against corruption, and in office, the audit report been capture am. We making say the commission dey work with the office of the president for say they investigate the office.
Many issues relating to overseas imprint not properly retired, overseas travel expenses to various countries, register issues, funds utilized for activities that were not properly provided. There are people in the office of the president who are responsible for this. Administrative staff, the state chief of protocol, the secretary to president, there are other people who have all these responsibilities. We are going to make sure that whosoever that is responsible for providing those explanations provides the explanation to us as to why they were not provided to the auditors. Frankly, some of the issues, we see them as straightforward. A receipt that was issued for hotel and other things, these are things that should not have any back and forth at all. It's a question of just checking to make sure that things are done properly. Let me make it clear at this stage, because I have seen a lot of people make reference to the fact they think that the Anti-Corruption Commission, the target should now be the president of Sierra Leone. If the ACC does not arrest the president of Sierra Leone, it means the ACC is not doing a job. You are making a serious error of judgment, because the Constitution itself clearly provides that no action, civil or criminal, can be taken against a sitting president of Sierra Leone while he is president. So if you think, sitting at home, or you journalists think that the ACC is going to arrest the president tomorrow, it is not my mistake. I know the law. It is your own mistake. But also, what we can do is to work with the presidency, and I must repeat again, the president has been very supportive of the fight against corruption, both in action and in words.
Commissioner Kaifala continue say the people where they in charge of government couple, where they named in at the 2020 audit reports, if they not explain to the commission but then couple then go detain them shortly after the Christmas holiday.
So everybody in charge of finances in this institution, I have given a blanket instruction that if they cannot provide sufficient explanation as to why they were captured in the audit report in this way, then they should be detained pending a clear investigation into the issue. If not, they are going to be detained over the Christmas period. This audit report for 2020 will be an example of our ability our will, our desire, our courage, our strength to employ everything, whether spiritual or physical, to fight corruption in Sierra Leone. Sometimes when we do these things, people say, oh, you should go for the minister. The minister cannot provide an explanation at this stage. Except if you come with the finance person, or the admin person, or the procurement person, and they point to them. But it is more likely that it is those who are responsible for the administrative setup who can provide the tool. And we are going to go after them very strongly to ensure that we have information.
Francis Benkaifala end up say the commission will investigate all the issues them where they inside the 2020 audit report quick one. This make in call on journalists them for help the commission by the fight against corruption. For Radio Democracy, Yeno Kabia the reports.
The program na Good Morning Saloon where they come to you from the Society for Radio Democracy 98.1 FM. We still get to studio guests them inside the program. Andrew Lavali, Executive Director, Institute of Governance Reform, and also Abubakar Kamara, Coordinator, Budget Advocacy Network, BAN. Abubakar, before we go for that break, Andrew Lavali made make a point that not only the corruption, but the action taken by government. And you mentioned earlier, say, some of them people we involved them for take stringent action against them we don't get from the ACC boss. You think say people at State House we involved into their allegations there so for be part of the people we the ACC for implement some of them policies there or then stands there on?
Absolutely, 100% agree. And I've just listened to the ACC boss, where even mentioned that the president is also very serious in the fight against corruption, both in action and in words. I mean, this is a test time wherein there are serious allegations in the office of the president. So we expect for actions now be taken right at the office of the president based on serious, very serious allegations. Then we come up from the audit reports, ranging from double dipping, forgery of receipt, and all of this. So to me, I agree that indeed the office of the president should be a first calling point. And would expect actions, not only from the Anti-Corruption Commission, but even from the Office of the President itself, for take actions on them very staffs them we involved in this whole particular process itself.
Somebody listening to you go argue, say the president not only handle expenses whenever he travel.
So now that make the need for take actions when it now that make in the audit report it's very clear. In some instances, then the audit even recommend for let there be fund then resources there. So and the issues then will come out from the office of the president. They are corruption-related issues.
The words like double dipping, fake receipts around State House, you think it's disappointing?
I mean, absolutely. Would you expect an example for be set in terms of managing of the public resources from the office of the president, and more so where the office don't show demonstration in terms of accountability. As I mentioned earlier, the president will return that bill, will be said they're not for account for the interest. Otherwise, we're not for they at this stage we are in then the audit the resources. So we expect actions will be taken for let them investigate them, and we expect the ACC for really set an example for start at the office of the president. You know, one thing where I also want to raise here is, I mean, the continued suspension of the Auditor General and deputies is really worrisome. Because these are very important people who play critical role in the management of financial resources.
You think say that action they've been getting anything for do with this particular audit report?
Well, now all we put in our press release it's unclear. They're not come out clearly to me in terms of the main reason why they suspend her. And that make we see as a very worrisome, looking at, and it will set a very bad precedent in the accountability landscape. And tribunal has been set. Publicly they get updates on when they start, on when they need to start. So, and critical office like that, they wouldn't suspend critical or public official like the Auditor General. It's very critical for us to get regular updates on what may happen.
Talking
from
about
the time when sworn in, we're not getting information.
Talking about the
and
updates,
it seems as if
Kamara,
absolutely they never that process until after next year. And the continued suspension of them is really worrisome for our accountability landscape.
Talking about the updates, questions from other activists, them don't they come out? They ask questions, say how much government take the citizen then serious, because with the news of the suspension of the Auditor General and the Deputy come out to see different institutions them issue out press release, institutional econa, everybody make their own views, everybody condemn that particular action. But yet still, the president be go ahead, set up a tribunal, name people who for sit in that particular tribunal, then take oath. And up till now, the public know nothing yet. Waiting really they happen. You think, say, the government take the citizen and really serious, especially when they come out and speak of issues they wouldn't think say it wrong?
On the issues around the suspension of the Auditor General and the deputy, it's quite clear. Majority of Sierra Leone, not approve of that day. Not a popular decision. IGR pull a report which shows a majority not there in favor of that decision day. And for we think say as a government we govern the people them, therefore we also receptive to the feelings of the ordinary citizens. And more especially when that particular institution and the individual don't prove beyond all reasonable doubt that they don't do a very good job over the past years. So for we, it really worrisome, and we think not a popular decision and not good for public accountability, it's not good for as a matter of legacy. It set a very bad precedent.
So
if anything happen now,
example, Lendi, you can describe President Bio as a listening president.
In this particular aspect around the suspension of the Auditor General's report, no.
Right. You think say the Auditor General's suspension gets impacts on the future audit report and will come out, especially 2021?
You know, perception they get a lot. Andrew then have a chat at Denki will give you more detail around that. If anything happened, it will be now a continuous trend. Any government will come, it appoint in Auditor General. And what does it mean for accountability process? It means a lot. It means say that you're going to be a state captured. Okay. So all the oversight institutions them go be really be people and where the government appoint. And from look of things, nobody will tell me say audit service and Auditor General, nobody don't do very good job. We don't prove from everything, don't prove that indeed they absolutely do a very good job. So in suspension, it worrisome. Right. And more so, we not get very clear updates. And Tribunal don't say they don't say the public need to get updates on what next, when they start, how the procedure. There will be a public tribunal so that citizens will listen carefully the submission of both parties on why they suspend them. So we think say as an important office and personality like that, the public will be regularly updated, and we feel say do not need for a delay that particular process day.
The program na Good Morning Saloon, where they come to you from the Society for Radio Democracy 98.1 FM. We come to we other studio guest, Andrew Lavalley, Executive Director, Institute of Governance Reform. Andrew, you don't talk about the corruption and you don't talk about the opinion or the allegations them na the Auditor General's report. And you don't call on the citizens you believe say if the people really take this issue serious and come out, that go tap some of them in there also. But looking at your early statements where you make, say, people, they prefer corruption, say, me, this corruption, I prefer this than this. And when you go on our Facebook page right now, even the small number of salon people where they watch, they say, no, why they're not being pulled this report? Why they not pull this report? So when you go on the street of Freetown itself, you see people, they argue and defend some of their issues here where they happen, now offenses them. You think with the perception of people defending corruption in terms of or in relation to their political parties can in any way change the situations and make people where they before take salon people serious?
You know, Denti and we find no blame we all for how we arrive at this point where we are. Usai, you know, if somebody thief, if they carry that money go in a village, that whole village they need this as corruption. So the state has been personalized. Somebody say now everybody want your preferred thief. So that one they are lekker. I'm not watching my Facebook page yet, but if you watch, you will see even their opinions, they might be divided on regional lines. Just watch their names and you see this the cost this it's really worrying. And to me, now how we as civil society and the media they situate the debate. If we situate the debate, let's just call APC SLPP, let this be a conversation. It will be difficult for law to get action, determination for action. You know, too often we point finger at the political class. While they listen to Ben Kefala, just now their commissioner, he said something we pointed when are really the administrative class. in spite of change in 2012, in 2007, in 2018, we see the same pattern here. Now in the persist. So we look for a day whereby then they actually call the administrative class there. Because if you see, for example, and the question is not just about how they return the money and go sit on back. If you see if we get a shake-up in the administrative service, people be called, let there be an end to impunity. The next person who will come at that position, they no, my job not secure if I do this. If minister say do this, he will say no. So me feel say that in terms of the immediate action, me feel say that some of the immediate action for the health role, for the actually see from there 1,000 issues that we raise, which heads in the role for us. If I for let we look at that one day. So you see say then division there. The more you get the states they act, the more the division they heal. Because you know what they mean? Where health role, leakages then block, people then they get in services suicide in the day, you see say this bitterness go drops more. We see say the war all experience, we watch the TRC report, it clearly states and say, not only expression way and dissent where they not be allowed, but service delivery was weak, was poor. And we see say now, 20 years after the war done, then division, then polarization, then poverty, it did more. A lot of, let's just speak a little bit of governance. Where would they track situations under Tijan Kaba, situations under President Nkrumah, under President Bio? A lot of Sierra Leoneans, they tell we say, under Kaba, we are much more peaceful. In fact, you can get a leader, we can get tolerant. Then you begin to say now, you begin to ask a question now, what happened? Because that same day, the state not they produce, the state not they accumulate and distribute. The state was weak. In fact, that time the state not be able to say for goes on side and day. So you need for even giving for let bring people in together. But now, so after the war, the state begin to accumulate, the state begin to produce people. If this was start joke about police officers, where then they share a lot of gifts to people. So as long as the states don't begin share and distribute, it is a greed setting. So the same that pre-war habit where Salon beget, then pre-war habits they don't set in again. The only way for stop them now where you get government where they talk say with the end impunity. So you get some people today at the glad about this corruption here where they don't announce. No, this mean corruption here, no law keep our force.
So Andrew, you just talk about actions. Let its role. People them way the report alleged say misappropriate government's couple, then for take action against them, and we don't listen to the ACC boss. It don't come out yesterday clearly and say it don't give a blanket order for detain all the one they would name them they na the audit report. They explain how they use government's couple and they detain them till after Christmas. And we don't they see the path where they fight against corruption, don't they take na salon. Some people satisfy, some not satisfied with this particular path. With the state, in the words of the ACC boss, he say go detain people or they name them they. If you say this na mere words or the ACC boss really determined for take actions against them people or their names then they na the report.
One of the biggest civil society in salon na radio democracy, law all tracker. That statement we make, Lord track them and keep them as a jingle. Go they play on time and again. So in case Mr. Benkefala will forget, you will remember. But the way me know, to be fair to them, the credit where you get, some of the fights where you don't take, the bold fights where you don't take against corruption, we compare your own tenure to other tenures. I think it's really worthy of special notice. So I believe and to I just agree with entirely with Bakar talk about the Auditor General, the integrity and the credibility of the Auditor General onto the lane of this report. I think this report here, it provides a clear opportunity again for Sierra Leone. Any audit report, now that opportunity they create. It creates an opportunity for Parliament. Say, yeah, look inside the holes and the law blocker. This one again, let will not allow that opportunity to be squandered. Let civil society and the media, they continuously ask them questions. They look, then leakages here identified. How did we close it? If we not take time, by next year, December, you go call we and Bakari again for can talk the same thing. And I believe you'll get response.
So let me look at the issue of when you travel across Salone, the concerns that are common, medical issue, roads, and other issues, then challenges them where Salone plugged into. With then corruptions there also, or then massive opinion corruptions there also from the Auditor General's reports, year in, year out, and according to you, this could only be half of the issues where they happen behind the scene. You think, say, the suffering of the people, na man-made or natural, na Salone?
Of course, you know, say it's man-made, and it will only be stopped by men. Now, me and you two no more. If we say today, because we the watch, the one the way they benefit from them corruption, they are all. Some people they talk say that 2%, but they never even reach 2%. All of this thing here, in fact, they might not even be mandates and teammates with the fight for politics every day. We then lay down something at Krube, then with Hog, then I'm sorry, the fight for later place. I believe say if we right now something Mende man team, I don't want for sound xenophobic, but Mende man team man they want land being a free here. Then get where they go to. And those are the people where they benefit from audit. Now, pass me you to know say politics don't mean nothing. Now you wealthy and now you count. That language you they talk, Pierre Kebu Abisi, it don't mean nothing. Now you wealthy and now important. I think saying at the start of change down there. But for me own part in short, I think so we need for whole Parliament and the Anti-Corruption Commission to account.
All right, thank you very much. Andula Vali, Executive Director, Institute for Governance Reform, and also many thanks to Abubakar Kamara, the coordinator for budget advocacy network PAN. We've been getting 2 nights so they look at issues then we they inside the 2020 audit report. We'll continue to look at the report and bring different people in for give their opinion. Now they end the program. Good morning, Salone, for today on edition. Michael Sambola and Alex Torrance-Coman, and then produce the program. DJ Ahmad give with technical support. Usman Kamara and Amy Kona watch we live now Facebook page. Mina Khadija Bangura, they wish you all a lovely day.
And Musa Kamara, they say bye-bye.